Something that I was guilty of myself for a long time, but which now irritates me beyond belief, is the notion that electronic music isn't real music. I'm talking about music which is produced exclusively, or at least in large parts, on the computer, as opposed to music which is produced exclusively, or in large parts, by people in the real world with real instruments. Of course, there's not a firm line between electronic music and non-electronic music. Everything that comes out these days is some form of electronic element, and you could argue that many of the building blocks that electronic music is built from, if they're not necessarily synthesizers, was at some point recorded of a real instrument. So isn't that a real instrument? And then you have the fondness that electronic musicians have of vocals, which are arguably part of real music, and then you get to autotune, and what the fuck is a sound anyway? Now, it is true that the amount of people who think that electronic music isn't real music is absolutely negligible these days, but fuck you, it's my video and I want to get mad at them anyway. Electronic music has got rhythm, it's got melodies, it's got sounds arranged in a non-random fashion. It can carry emotion, and it has a distinct range of instruments and styles. And yes, of course, not all electronic songs have all of these attributes, but I tell you that for every electronic song that is just a random assortment of sounds, you will have some experimental non-electronic song that is a random assortment of sounds. There's a song called 433 where no instrument plays any sound. There seems to be this weird notion that real people coming together in the real world to play real instruments and sing with real voices and make real sounds is some mystical quality to it, that electronic music it could never recreate that. And while I do love a lot of just music that has absolutely no electronic elements to them, I think that this idea of there being some magical component to real music is only in your head. You can even have live performances with electronic music, and yes, most DJs will just stand up there and have a pre-made mix run and act like they're fiddling around with the buttons and do this. But fucking a real DJ, a proper DJ, he will do a live mix. He or she will look at the crowd, will check what is necessary, will match a new song, will introduce it properly, will do everything in the moment. And those concerts are as real as any other, right? You get the musical feel, you get those transcendental experiences, and arguably, electronic festivals have the superior drugs. One of the big arguments against the realness of electronic music seems to be that the tools of the trade, the software and the synthesizers, can theoretically just be learned by anyone if they put the time into it and don't require any talent. Oh, you mean like putting in the time to learn a real fucking instrument? It's almost like both violins and Ableton Live require a similar level of commitment if you want to make good music with them. It's just that Ableton Live gives you a few more options. I'm not sponsored by Ableton Live, by the way. I just want to make that clear. And don't come at me with this bullshit rationale that, well, if you want to do a violin, you need to develop a feel for the music and a perfect ear to properly interpret the sound and know what's good and what isn't. You have to do the same thing when you make electronic music if you want to make electronic music that's worth a damn. You need to have the exact same amount of feel for music in that endeavor. It's not like buying Fruity Loops will just magically give you an understanding of what makes music good and also give you the ability to apply that knowledge to make good music. Nor does the software do all the work for you, which for some reason is a notion that is in people's heads. I'm also not sponsored by Fruity Loops. Especially with the increasing hybridization of music and the intermixture of different systems of sound, we are living in the early stages of an absolute golden age for music. In the last few years alone, so many new genres have popped into existence. So many new musicians have been able to just put their stuff out there without having to go past the gatekeepers. There's creative inspiration just flying around everywhere. It's ridiculous. There's more consumers of music than there's ever been. There's more money in the music industry that's being distributed increasingly away from the parasites, right? Every day something new or old is being discovered or rediscovered and integrated into the future of sound. It's a beautiful time to be alive, and I do firmly believe that in the decades to come, it will only get beautifuler. Thank you very much for watching. Do the things, check out my audiobooks. I'm gonna be in Frankfurt over the weekend, so I won't be active on social media. in case you try to contact me. And see you around, cunts!